Hello and welcome. I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines this hour. Ukraine's military chief says it controls nearly 90% of the strategic northeastern town of Kupiansk, but Russia's defense minister said a Ukrainian counterattack on the town had been unsuccessful. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said she was not ready to back a trade agreement between the European Union and the South American trade bloc Mercosur, dealing a blow to hopes of finalizing the deal in the coming days. The European Parliament approves an European Union deal to delay its anti-deforestation law by a year until December 2026, clearing the penultimate legal hurdle before the delay can pass into law. According to a poll of aid agencies, the humanitarian catastrophe engulfing Sudan, unleashing horrific violence on children and uprooting nearly a quarter of the population, is the world's most neglected crisis of 2025. Warner Bros. Discovery's board rejected Paramount Skydance's $108.4 billion hostile bid, saying it failed to provide adequate financing assurances. Doctors in England began a 5-day strike on Wednesday over pay and working conditions during a surge in flu cases and with no end to sight over increasingly bitter dispute with the government. A cyber attack that hit the French Interior Ministry's email service last week compromised at least a dozen files. Interior Minister Laurence Nunez made the statement, adding that the incident was more serious than initially thought. Amid threats from Bangladesh, India has closed visa application centers in Dhaka. Security threats from extremist elements have deteriorated the situation, prompting New Delhi to summon Bangladesh's envoy to convey serious concerns. Let's start the bulletin, viewers, with the news from Italy. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has said that finding a legal way to use frozen Russian assets to support Ukraine is far from easy. Meloni stressed that while Italy fully backs the idea of making Moscow pay for the invasion, any plan must have a solid legal basis and avoiding exposing countries to unlimited liabilities. She wants clarity on how the assets would be used, especially to ensure they don't create new burdens for national budgets. Meloni pointed out that European Union leaders are set to discuss using Russian sovereign assets to help fund Ukraine's reconstruction and defense. She also criticized Russia's unreasonable demands in peace talks, particularly over controlling the entire Donbas region. Meloni said real progress has been made on security guarantees for Ukraine, but legal and financial hurdles remain before any frozen assets can be mobilized. Let's listen in.
L'Italia ha deciso venerdì scorso di non far mancare il proprio appoggio al regolamento che ha fissato l'immobilizzazione dei beni russi, senza tuttavia, lo voglio sottolineare con chiarezza, ancora avallare alcuna decisione sul loro utilizzo. Lo abbiamo fatto pur non condividendo il metodo utilizzato, perché non vi siano ancora una volta dubbi sulla linea coerente di sostegno che il Governo ha sempre mantenuto nei confronti dell'Ucraina. L'Italia considera ovviamente sacrosanto il principio secondo cui debba essere prioritariamente la Russia a pagare per la ricostruzione della nazione che ha aggredito, ma questo risultato deve essere raggiunto con una base legale solida. Intendiamo inoltre chiedere chiarezza rispetto ai possibili rischi connessi alla proposta di utilizzo della liquidità generata dall'immobilizzazione degli asset, particolarmente quelli reputazionali, di ritorsione o legati a nuovi pesanti fardelli per i bilanci nazionali. Così come riteniamo che se si decide di andare verso questa direzione sia miope rivolgere le attenzioni su un unico soggetto detentore dei beni sovrani russi congelati, cioè il Belgio, quando anche altre nazioni partner hanno asset immobilizzati nei rispettivi sistemi finanziari.
All right, and joining me in this discussion now is Satoru Nagao, who is a fellow at the Hudson Institute. Joins us live from Tokyo. Thank you, Mr. Nagao, for joining us here at NewsX World. Mr. Nagao, now, of course, the question of frozen Russian assets and its use is crucial, but with the opposition of Hungary, Slovakia, even Poland to some extent, how do you see that happening?
Of course, what Russia did is destroying the many infrastructure or the weapon or the many things in Ukraine. So that's why it is true that Russia should pay to rebuild this one. And in this case, the frozen asset is one of the Russia's asset should be used for rebuilding this. View from this, it is logical. But at the same time, view from the legal basis, this is a little gray zone. And if the European country need to say rule-based order is important, and rule-based order, legal basis is very important part of it, and Russia violates respect sovereignty. So in this case, that's why Russia's invasion is wrong under the rule-based order. If so, view from this value-based rule, using the frozen Russia's asset is a little bit gray zone, and the Europeans should not use it. Some country believe that is also the matter. And in case of this, indeed, there are the other two aspects is also European need to consider. One is after the war, they need to rebuild the diplomatic relation with Russia. And in this case, there's a possibility Russia will ask to return these frozen assets. So that in that case, for example, the Belgium will face a crisis because of the Russia asked a huge amount of money, something like that is a concerning point. But to rebuild the relation with Russia, of course, this is a matter. And one of the hidden issue in this case is, indeed, if the Europeans use this frozen asset to rebuild Ukraine, after that, many countries are afraid to buy the asset in Europe. So that's why, because, for example, the foreign country, Middle Eastern country, African country, Asian country, if they buy and have the asset in Europe, there's a possibility if something has happened, in this case, European will use this asset for them, and they will lose this asset. In this case, if the Asian country or the Middle Eastern country, African country, Latin American country expects such kind of things could happen, so in this case, they will not have the asset in Europe. So that's why after the European use these frozen Russia's assets, no one want to send the money to the Europe, but that is another hidden aspect European worrying, I think. So these three aspects, the value-based one, or the diplomatic relation with Russia after the war, or the third one is view from other country, what will happen after that. But these three factors are hidden factors, and some country concerning about these three, I think.
All right. Well, thank you for your response on that, Mr. Nagao. We'll see how that discussion goes ahead. But moving on, viewers, Russian President Vladimir Putin has also said that Russia will achieve its goal in Ukraine by diplomatic or military means and would seek to expand a security buffer zone there. Putin also says that people in Europe were being indoctrinated with fears of a war with Russia and accused their leaders of whipping up hysteria. Putin noted that Russia is not seeking war with Europe but is ready for war if that is Europe's choice. Meanwhile, Russia has repeatedly accused European countries of attempting to sabotage peace efforts between the US and Russia.
Российская армия завоевала и прочно удерживает стратегическую инициативу на всей линии фронта. Наши войска уверенно продвигаются вперед и перемалывают противника, его группировки и резервы, в том числе так называемые элитные части и соединения, прошедшие подготовку в западных военных центрах, оснащенные современной иностранной техникой и вооружением. В этом году уже освобождено свыше 300 населенных пунктов, в том числе крупные города, превращенные противником в укрепленные узлы, насыщенные долговременными фортификационными сооружениями. Занятые позиции, созданные за последние месяцы плацдармы и, конечно, полученный в боях уникальный тактический и оперативный опыт прорыва глубокой обороны противника позволяют наращивать темпы наступления на стратегически важных направлениях. В состав военно-морского флота пополнили новые подводные лодки, включая стратегический ракетоносец «Князь Пожарский», а также 19 надводных кораблей и судов. Прошли успешные испытания стратегической крылатой ракеты неограниченной дальности «Буревестник» и безэкипажного подводного аппарата «Посейдон». За счет использования ядерной энергетической установки эти комплексы еще долго будут оставаться уникальными и единственными в своем роде. Обеспечат стратегический паритет безопасности глобальные позиции России на десятилетия.
Moving on, India has shut down its visa application center in Dhaka, citing serious security concerns. The India Visa Application Center at Jamuna Future Park stopped operations after threats from extremist elements. Officials say all visa appointments scheduled for the day will be rescheduled. New Delhi has also summoned Bangladesh's High Commissioner to raise strong concerns over the worsening security situation. The Indian External Affairs Ministry said that extremist groups have announced plans that could threaten the safety of the Indian mission in Dhaka. India has urged Bangladesh's interim government to meet its diplomatic responsibility to protect foreign missions. The move follows provocative remarks by a Bangladeshi political leader who warned of isolating India's northeastern states if Bangladesh is destabilized. India has rejected what it calls a false narrative being spread by extremist elements and says it has not received credible findings from Bangladesh on recent incidents. Meanwhile, Bangladeshi police have blocked a protest march towards the Indian High Commission in Dhaka by a group called the Julie Okia. And joining me on this discussion is retired Major General Sudhakar Ji, who is an international relations and defense expert. He joins us from New Delhi. Thank you, Major General, for joining us here at NewsX World. Now, the situation is deteriorating since last year, you know, when the Hindu community was under attack. A lot is happening now under this puppet regime of Muhammad Yunus. We don't know if he's ruling the country or if it's the Jamaat, but clearly the threat to cut off 7 sisters from India is unprecedented.
Yeah, Kriti, good evening. Thank you for getting me for your show. Absolutely, I would say spot on. Your question has the issues of concern. All I would say is that it is unprecedented, it is uncalled for, it is unwarranted. And I think this is the least that Government of India could do. And issuing a protest note is also a very, very important milestone as far as diplomacy and dialogue goes. And in relation to the foreign relations that we maintain with the neighbors, it is very, very important step. And I'm sure that the situation, the way it is unfolding in Bangladesh, it warrants a high alert on part of the security apparatus of India, because the elections are around the corner. One doesn't know which all parties will participate, because there is lot of rumor, loose talk going on that maybe in the zero time, last minute, the Awami League could be permitted. I really don't know. This is a big question mark coming in my mind. A party which has been banned for so long, suddenly it is going to be, and of course it will reflect inclusivity, but this is not that easy. Yunus is not going to actually succumb to pressure. He is a man who is driven by Jamaitis and all fundamental Islamic radical elements. He is unlikely to accept it. So what? So what happens then? Your next concern is, which you have alluded to, is that given the current situation of Bangladesh, the NCP, National Citizen Party, this party, the leader, how dare he make a comment that he is going to sever off 7 sisters of India?
Yeah.
In fact, this particular protest should be pointedly, his name should be mentioned that how dare, and this should be raised at the highest level with Bangladesh, in Bangladesh as also in India. And concerning the issue should be taken up at the highest level in the United Nations. Last but not the least, it's a very, very delicate situation, Kriti, and how it is going to pan out is anybody's guess. I
Yeah.
only hope and pray that Yunus is able to handle this situation effectively. As of now, things are beyond his control. Jamaati is gradually taking hold of entire situation. There doesn't seem to be any signature of stability and law and order in the country, and it may actually take an ugly turn towards a very violent protest and also a civil war kind of a situation because of nobody other than ISI and I would say all the radical Islamic elements present here, including support given by Qatar and Turkey.
Also concerning very much how Prime Minister Modi's effigies were being burnt in Bangladesh. But leaving that aside for now, like you said, Awami League may be allowed to contest. Sheikh Hasina has been sentenced in absentia. How fair can these elections be?
My take on the whole issue in response to your question, Kriti, is that this election is going to be a hogwash. It is going to be a eyewash before the public. It is being stage managed in a manner so that a puppet government is put there in place. Whether that puppet government will be effective or not, it will reflect one thing. That thing is legitimizing the non-state actors or the Islamic fundamental radical elements in rules-based international order. First it started with Afghanistan, then you had Syria, now it is Bangladesh. Pakistan is an ongoing phenomena. We know what is happening in Iran. So therefore, it is the arc of influence and dominance of the non-state actors, the radical Islamic elements is expanding, and I'm sorry to say that willy-nilly, unless US deliberately comes down heavily on such kind of countries and against these forces, it will tantamount the involvement and participation of United States of America in support of these forces which are inimical against the rules-based international order.
Major General, I'd also like to request your comments on the fact how Soros's son had met, visited Bangladesh and had, promised funds. Now, Soros has been known to have some links in the deep state. Do you think that is also affecting the geopolitical situation in Bangladesh, given that it's going completely wrong? So clearly there's some money and support coming from outside.
Absolutely, absolutely, without doubt. There is no second thought about it. The whole situation in Bangladesh has been created regardless of the official involvement. I would say whether it is there or not, it's to be ascertained by from the open source. But the fact of the matter, one thing stands established is that the Bangladesh situation, ouster of Sheikh Hasina, was driven by direct involvement of deep state and centrally, I would say, the central component was George Soros.
Yeah.
His money has been involved, his team, his nuclear team is involved in this. It is a different issue that today, despite all sincere attempt by Donald Trump to bring, realize his objective election, I would say, mandates that he had decided or the assurances he had given to the people, he is gradually falling into the trap of no precedent, Kriti, no precedent. If you read history of USA, no precedent, no matter how the best and bona fide the intention have been, no precedent of USA has ever been able to achieve his noble intentions and objective that he promised during elections, during his tenure of presidency. And Donald Trump is no exception. He's falling into the trap. So therefore, to answer your question in specific, yes, he's definitely involved without doubt, and it should be highlighted. It should be called out at appropriate places. Western media will definitely support him, but what about the Eastern and the global South? Why aren't they talking about it? Why don't we also nurture our own media to build a narrative? Back to you, please.
All right, thank you so much, Major General, for weighing in your opinion on this. But do stay on with us, please. Viewers, Pakistan's powerful military chief, Field Marshal Asim Munir, now faces a critical test as the US pushes Islamabad to contribute troops to a proposed Gaza stabilization force. Munir, who recently gained unprecedented constitutional powers and lifetime immunity, has cultivated close ties with President Donald Trump, aiming to secure US investment and aid. The Gaza plan would see Muslim nations assist in reconstruction and economic recovery while demilitarizing Hamas, a move that has raised concerns among potential contributors. In Pakistan, Islamist parties and supporters of former Premier Imran Khan could mobilize protests, framing troop deployment as serving Israeli or US interests. Analysts warn that any involvement carries domestic risk, despite Munir's unmatched authority, making the decision a delicate balancing act between international pressure and internal stability. I now request retired Major General Sudhakar Ji to join us back with his comment on this. Sudhakar Ji, how will Asim Munir be able to deliver on this plan?
Very interesting question, Kriti, because he's between the deep sea and the dilemma, because he doesn't have any quick solutions. He has got all the powers, all the supremacy, all the authority provided or facilitated by Constitutional Amendment 27. However, what he doesn't have, the public opinion in favor. When I say public opinion, what it means is traditionally our viewers should do well to understand that Pakistan is anti-Israel. It has never been in support of Israel, except for one odd meeting here and there in recent past. That is to be kept in mind. Number two, it has already got a strategic partnership of defense with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia and Israel, the arch rivals, but things are actually thawing and cooling off towards a possible, presumable, I would say, Abraham Accord. Third and most important point is that within Pakistan, there are forces like Labak, Tehrik Labak party, which they had already come onto the street, and there are people who had been killed, a large number of people in one of the unrest where the police as also military had actually killed these people. They had gone out on protest. There was a track to kind of a dialogue, backdoor dialogue. That's how it was quelled. It was put into some kind of a cold storage. But the fire is simmering. The fire is simmering. Why? Because any such move for stabilization force by the Pakistan army would have the following challenges. Number one, they would be there in the international forces working under some kind of a neutral flag or agency, let's say United Nations flag, when working to a mandate. That mandate could be Article 6 or Article 7. Article 7 mandate, and thereafter also it enforces UN peacekeeping force to be empowered to fight for peace. When it is fight for peace, they may have to fight against the challenges they are likely to face. What is the challenge in Israel today? It is the Hamas, the disarmament Hamas. Will Hamas ever disarm? My answer is no.
Okay.
Until unless they are given doubly or triple assurances by bona fide and meaningful, respected authority, global agency and countries and superpower, I don't think there has to be a security guarantee provided to Hamas, one. Number two, their place of residence. That is, the two-nation theory has to be assured. The sovereignty of Palestine has to be given due cognizance, and it has to be accepted in black and white, which is non-existent in any kind of document today except for Oslo's Accord, and thereafter a couple of times the agreements have been signed. The current 20-point peace proposal doesn't speak about two-nation theory. I don't say it is the answer. I don't say, but that answer has been floating right since creation of Israel, 1948. That is to be understood. And subsequently, whenever Israel has gone in for conflict against the neighbors, they always have come to some kind of a conclusion with due acceptance or acknowledgement of the fact that the Middle East problem between the Palestine and Israel will come to some kind of a peaceful normalcy, provided they give some accommodation or accommodate these people under the theory of two-nation theory. So it has not been accepted. Last but not the least is that situation in Gaza or West Bank is absolutely fragile, and it is very hostile and volatile. It is being driven by one element which no media agency is talking. Although many countries in the Middle East, they have actually banned this organization, it is Muslim Brotherhood. Muslim Brotherhood came into existence in Egypt in 1928. It is the fundamental apex organization which has been spreading Islamic radicalization. This has to be understood. Why hasn't the global body till now raised the point, you ban it and brand it as a terrorist organization? Why are we twiddling our thumb and not doing enough about it? So therefore, the call comes that appropriate level and authority have to take notice of this particular challenge. This is the genesis, the root cause of trouble in Middle East. If you do not handle Muslim Brotherhood, it is not going to harm the Middle East alone, it is going to harm Bangladesh, it will harm India, Pakistan, all other Islamic countries, also wherever you have a certain percentage of Muslim population living or residing.
All right, thank you for your comments, retired Major General. We appreciate you here on NewsX World. Viewers, moving on now, some tech news. Global tech and entertainment companies are investing tens of billions of dollars to expand artificial intelligence infrastructure as demand for advanced AI systems skyrockets. Amazon is in talks to invest about $10 billion in OpenAI, potentially valuing the ChatGPT parent at over $500 billion. Walt Disney has committed $1 billion, allowing OpenAI to use characters from Star Wars, Pixar, and Marvel in its Sora AI video generator. Meanwhile, NVIDIA, AMD, Oracle, and Broadcom are also supplying chips and cloud services, while joint ventures like Stargate and deals with CoreWeave aim to build data centers to meet surging compute demand. Meta and Google are also securing multi-billion-dollar cloud contracts, and Microsoft, Tesla, and SoftBank are investing heavily in AI chips and infrastructure. These moves highlight the growing competition and investment race to power the next generation of AI. And joining me in this discussion is Tamir Pariente, who is the CTO at Truly, joins us live from Tel Aviv. Thanks, Tamir, for joining us here at NewsX World. Tamir, how do you see these developments? More and more tech giants now lining up billions of dollars towards AI. How is that going to affect the way that we have been computing, using internet, creating, innovating up until now?
Yeah, so it's gonna change everything. Like, as we spoke before, it's gonna be a competitive, not a race, but a competition between giants on who gets the infrastructure and the rails that this huge train needs. And so we're gonna see a lot of co-pilots in every day-to-day work, in every workload, every pipeline that currently humans do. We're gonna have a lot of co-pilots, we're gonna have a lot of automations, and we're gonna have a just ongoing exploding demand of the usage of LMs and AI in general.
Tamir, to take us through some of the challenges that are going to surface in these huge investment for infrastructure, starting from copyright to how it affects how it replaces humans with AI.
Yeah, so in terms of copyright, we just saw the deal that Disney did with OpenAI. So my guess is more and more companies would want to license the usage of their characters and their patents on these large platforms, because it's so hard to legalize it, right? Anyone can put an image and make a video out of it, and how can you track it? So I think we're gonna see more and more cases like these. And the challenges is really energy. It's infrastructure, so you need GPUs and you need them very efficiently, because the big companies want to make money at the end of the day. So it's not about who has the smartest model, but who has the highest efficiency and smart enough model.
All right, Tamer, the subject indeed calls for a deeper discussion, and we request you to join us sometime again later. But for now, thank you for joining us here at NewsX World. And moving on, viewers, to news from the US. A new documentary titled Melania is putting First Lady Melania Trump firmly in the spotlight. Amazon MGM Studios has released the first trailer, offering a rare look into the 20 days leading up to the 2025 US presidential inauguration. In the trailer, Melania is seen speaking candidly on the phone with her husband, US President Donald Trump, even poking fun at herself, setting the tone for a film that promises both access and personality. The documentary follows her as she prepares for life in the White House, oversees inauguration plans, meets world leaders, and steps back into public life with her family. Viewers see her moving through the White House, boarding Air Force One, and taking part in private conversations, all while maintaining her signature style. The film is directed by Brett Ratner and is produced by Melania Trump herself. Amazon MGM says it offers unprecedented access, including exclusive footage of key meetings and behind-the-scenes moments during the transition of power. Reports say Amazon paid around $40 million for the project. Melania is set for a theatrical release on January 30 next year, before streaming on Amazon Prime Video. A three-part docuseries will follow, tracing Melania's life between New York, Florida, and Washington as the First Lady of the US. And that's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news and updates.